So why we should use generative AI, what it gives to us, and how it can help us. Let's start from the personalized learning. I've put the Wikipedia quote here for you if you don't know what is personalized learning. But if you try to learn something, for example, another programming language or something else, you usually stuck with a situation where you need to find the information, you need to find the program you're gonna program, the steps you're gonna use to learn this language, for example, and then you need to find some information about this language and maybe some practical stuff to do and maybe even validate it, what you wrote with this new language. So you can use ChatGPT, for example. It will provide you with the information, it will provide you with the code, it will provide you information about what to do, what practical lessons you can do to practice your new language. And it's great for this, but if you would ask me how to do it, I won't suggest to go to ChatGPT itself, because it's a learning model which is limited in its knowledge. I think it used data till 2021 or so it's a bit outdated, but you can go to Bing.com, the Microsoft search engine. There is a chat, so you click on the chat and you have ChatGPT 4 for you for free. Of course, it's a bit limited, but at least it uses internet and the current websites to find an information. It's going to be more relevant. Intelligent tutoring again. Quote from the Wikipedia, and you can use ChatGPT. I will mostly refer to ChatGPT because it's the most popular in the text model you can use right now. So it can help you and be your tutor. Plus, it will be your personalized tutor. It will adjust to your needs. You can ask whatever you want in the deepness you want. For example, you want just some brief information, it can give you brief information. You want some detailed information, it will give it to you. You can, if you don't know how to fix, for example, error in your studying, you can ask ChatGPT to check it. It will find you an error. So it will be like your mentor, which helps you to learn. Automated content creation. And I will show an example in the very end, how you can use it if you want. But it mostly means that ChatGPT can generate content for you. And probably you heard the most known example nowadays is the Infinite series at Twitch. I forgot the name, but the idea is that there is a ChatGPT generating content and prompts for Midjourney. Then they use Midjourney to generate images, and now you have 24 hours per day, 7 days per week series, which is not interesting, and the plot is awful, of course, but at least you can see how it works and how it can work in the future. Adaptive testing, I don't know if you have heard about this. It's not about development, but you can apply it again if you, for example, learn a new programming language. So it can test your knowledge, and it can adapt to your knowledge based on the responses you give. If you're bad, for example, in something you're learning, it will ask you more easy questions. If you are really good, it can ask you more complex questions. Of course, AI doesn't solve the issues of this adaptive testing, which we have right now with other tools, for example. And the simplest one, which question should be first? Should it be simple one, complex one, for example? So it never knows what's your current level when you start. And also calculation of the result is a bit complicated because you need to see what the complexity of the question, what the is the answer good, and then compare. So ChatGPT also cannot calculate it properly, but yeah, the AI is moving forward, so probably it will be more accurate in the future. Chatbots and virtual assistants. We had it before modern era of AI. We have it right now, and the simple examples are Siri, stupid Siri, not so stupid Alexa, and more or less good Google Assistant, I think it's called. There's also something from Bing, which is called Cortana, but I never used it. I wouldn't say if it's good. And yeah, you can build, by the way, voice assistant with ChatGPT, for example. You just convert your voice to a text, send it as a prompt, then receive back text, and you can voice over it with a browser, for example. But yeah, mostly it's a chat assistant. You can ask it whatever you want. It can write text for you, for example, documentation. Yeah, that's what we all hate to write, so it can write you documentation if you want. And predictive analytics. That's what every business needs. And this is a way how business can analyze what the future of the market, how to behave, how to prevent risks, or which risks to take. Of course, it will not replace the person who does it. So if you have access to a paid version of ChatGPT, it will not replace your current whatever risk manager, or how you call them, but it can help to do everything faster. So it can be cheaper in the end, not so much, but can. Or if you're a small business or just a single person, you can use it by by yourself, so you do not need to hire anyone. Of course, you need to read something in advance, how to predict your future of your business, for example. There, it can be used like this. And let's now talk why not to use ChatGPT, because yeah, we already heard so much interesting stuff about this, but it's not ideal, of course, as usual. And the first and most important thing which you can imagine is obsolete data. Because I already mentioned that ChatGPT, for example, it was trained till 2021 or 2022. So some of the data it provides to you as a response can be outdated. So you should check it, you should know if it's like correct data or not. And if we will talk about code, it can provide you code with the old libraries, for example. If you will ask it to use React Router to write you some example, it will use React Router 5. But the current version is React Router 6, which is kind of different. So you should be aware of this. And it's not only accurate, but also it repeats people's mistakes and errors. Because it's educated on some information from the internet till 2021, and it doesn't know which information is correct and which is not correct. It can provide you answers which are completely incorrect. Because, as I said, AI, like a machine, it doesn't know is it correct or not, and it cannot even decide is it correct or not. And there are a lot of examples. For example, tech YouTubers, as they've asked what are the best cameras in the phones, or what are the cameras with the best phones with the best cameras, it provided the correct answer, like the phone models, etc. And they used Bing, like the most modern and has access to internet. But the technical characteristics of these devices were wrong, which is kind of strange because you can easily find it on the website of Microsoft, for example, or like Google or Apple. Phones are correct, technical information is wrong. So this is an example where it grabbed information from the wrong side, so repeated somebody's mistake. And you should be aware of this, and you should always check what it gives to you. Whatever is ChatGPT or Bard from Google or some other AI model, you should check if the correct answer is correct. And standards and references. Let's talk about the code. When you ask ChatGPT to write you some piece of code, it never follows your standards, your style guides, etc., because it doesn't know it. So it just provides you a piece of code with maybe if you will mention the library you want to use for this code, it will use this library, probably even correct. But as I said, it will not follow your guidance. And of course you can do it. You just need to provide more context to this guy, and it will follow your standards, everything. But then you have another problem. That's the privacy concerns. And Tanina asked if you use in your work AI models. And is anybody here from the companies who prohibited AI, generative AIs? Yeah, I also from here. Yeah, so the thing is just a story with the Samsung. In 20 days, when the ChatGPT was announced, during the 20 days of its existence, they've got 6 data leaks. How it did happen? So Samsung also prohibited all these generative AIs. People were using it, ChatGPT, to write, for example, a message or to correct code or something else, and they provided secret information to ChatGPT, like internal meeting for something like new Samsung is developing. So they provided this information with the question, can you correct this code or fix or find an error? And despite ChatGPT, for example, says we are not storing your data, we are not like giving your data to other people, but they do use it for educational reasons. So the AI is educating themselves, so it's like training its model on the stuff you entered. So it means it will not give your code or your secret information, secret story to somebody else. But if your code has some weird logic, which you want, secret logic, private logic you want to use in your product, and then somebody else will make a request, that's possible, make a request which can involve the same logic, ChatGPT, or can think kind of, oh, I have this logic in there, it's the same request or whatever, and it can show it to other people. So with Samsung, they don't know if it was shown to somebody else, but they exactly know 6 times it was used to correct or fix some private information. So they prohibited it. Yeah, and it's clear why, yeah, because when it works with your data, with your prompt, it uses their own servers to process the data. So it means it's uncontrolled place, and for companies like Samsung, or in my case, it's a bank, which is also prohibited, they are afraid of that some secret private bank information will be in there and will be shown up to somebody else. So that's why they are prohibiting it. And also you probably heard, or if you don't, I will tell you, there was a data leak from ChatGPT. The most known thing they told about is that people who have been able to see chat history of other people, and they disabled it for a while and then returned. But that's not that's not all. Then later everybody figured out that their personal credit card information they used to pay for ChatGPT, for example, also leaked. OpenAI says it's 1.2% of all users we have, but it's still a lot. And after that, Italy wanted to ban ChatGPT. I think they just limited the access to it somehow right now, but they want to completely ban it. Germany also looks for banning it. Spain announced they will probably ban it because of privacy concerns, of course, and China. So these countries are now looking forward to ban ChatGPT, and in my opinion, we will not have in the future maybe these open models which you can type whatever you want. Probably it will be just tools which uses this AI for some specific reasons. And it's time to speak about tools. That's what the main topic is about. And I will show you few categories of the tools. Somewhere it will be one tool for the category, somewhere more. And we will discuss what they do. And let's start from the code completion. That's the first public available AI tool probably you heard about. It's a GitHub Copilot, for example. So the idea is that it kind of uses context of the file you're typing the code to provide you suggestions on this code. And it can be one line of the code. You can see here it can be one line. Or it can be the whole logical piece of the code. And if you use Copilot, it provides you big chunks of the code. But if you use other tools, it depends on your plan. And this is a list of the tools you can use. So Copilot I already mentioned. There is a new version of Copilot coming soon, which you can provide also prompts. It can read the whole context of your project, and based on your prompt, provide a huge piece of code, for example, the whole React component if you need, or whatever logic you need. Again, privacy concerns, so it will be able to read the whole code you have in your code base, in your project, for example, and it means that through the Microsoft servers, it will be going through and maybe stored somewhere, or somehow used. And GitHub Copilot you should pay for. So you know probably, yeah, it starts from $10 per month to 10 euros per month. Then we have Tab 9, it's one of the first competitors to Copilot. It has a free tier, then it suggests you one string in free tier, sometimes more. Works more or less the same, but it also has a paid version which works the same as Copilot. It provides you huge pieces of code and also reads the context of your file and processes it through their own servers. So just remember all this. Amazon announced Code Whisperer like a few days ago, literally. And it's a Copilot competitor. You can sign up for testing, for beta or alpha testing. I don't remember which phase of the test they have right now. But you can sign up and you will use it for free. I'm not sure if it will be forever free or just while testing. But you can do it. And this is Google Alpha Code. I'm not sure if you heard about this. They announced it. They said it's also a GitHub Copilot competitor. Will be released soon. Will be paid, of course. And there's also a register button, so probably you can register for beta testing. I use it. I use Tab 9 sometimes, but again, my office computer, I had to disable it because I've got this email not allowed. Documentation. There are two things developers don't like to write. The first one is tests. Who likes to write tests? Do we have person? No, you don't say. So there are some people who don't like to write tests, and there are other people who don't like to write documentation. So you do a huge piece of code, it does something, a lot of logic, a lot of if, else's, and other conditions, but then you need to describe it, to document it, which request interface, response interface, whatever inside, some logic inside, and that's always boring. And then you need also to write for the whole project this huge README file, which is also boring, but you need to describe how it runs, how it does, what's the logic, and where the other documentation files. And here you can also use AI for this. For example, there is a tool called stenography. So it allows you to write documentation in different ways. It can read the code base you have, process it through their own servers, of course, again, and provide you the whole description of your code. So that's great if you need README file, for example, or you need information based on the structure. It also has API, so you can just typically send API request with the code you have, and it will return you back description of this code. So that's also useful. You have a function, you want some documentation or JS doc for this function, you send it, receive back the whole description with the inputs and outputs. And it also has ability to suggest you from Stack Overflow and from official documentations. So as soon as you need some information from Stack Overflow or search for some help, it can search it for you, and in a pop-up you will see the response, the link if you need, and also it will provide you a link to official documentation based on the topic you asked, and you can always go to official documentation and see it. So it kind of saves you time when you go to Google, type there the search request and go to Stack Overflow, and then it's incorrect answer or 1,000 messages post, so you just scroll to the very bottom to find the correct suggestion. Prompts. Prompts, this is a request you send to generative AI usually. And that's the whole new topic, the whole new category, domain in the business which appeared since ChatGPT and Midjourney and DALL-E. And to get the best result from the AI, you need to provide the best possible prompt. And that's the whole, not science to create the prompts, but people are writing books now, selling them on Amazon. There are websites with the best prompts and results for AI, text AI or for image AI. And usually the biggest problem here is if you need to use multiple AIs. So for example, you ask ChatGPT to create you prompt for Midjourney, and then you use this nice Midjourney prompt in the Midjourney to get a nice image. So there is a project called Riku. It has integrations with different generative AIs, and what it does, it helps you to store your prompts, change your prompts, see are they good or not, and it also connects different AI projects. So you can create one prompt, and then by a chain it will go through different AIs, and in the end you will get whatever you want. For example, you can create this chain, you ask ChatGPT about prompt for Midjourney, as I mentioned, and then it will automatically ask Midjourney, request Midjourney with this prompt to get the image, and this whole chain will return you the proper image. And on the screenshot you see you can store them, it shows what AI you use for this prompt, what was the result, like is it good or not, etc. It's paid, so you should pay for this, and I doubt you should pay if you are not using AI a lot. So it's easier to open the website with the prompts if you want, and just to see prompts people are using and the results of it. Who did work with the databases? SQL databases. Non-SQL databases, key value storages. Okay. Who worked with the SQL databases probably used something like this in the past. This is a joins cheat sheet. If you have a really complex structure of your database with a lot of references, and you need to create a query which grabs one entity and then based on the references attaches all the information from different tables, it can be hell. Let's be honest, that's why we have all these libraries. In Python, for example, it's popular SQL Alchemy, I think it's called, and it still returns the bad results, of course. But the idea is people are trying to simplify a way of building this SQL or non-SQL MongoDB queries, for example. And of course, AI can also help with this. You can use ChatGPT if you want. You will type their models of your table, describe what are the references, and it will provide you a query. But there are also tools for this, which probably use ChatGPT in the background. And one of them is AI Helper Bot. What's the idea of this tool? You just connect it to your database. They promise they are not using the data, just the models. But if it's your hobby project, which is not secret, you can connect your database. It will see all the models in there, all the references, all the types. And then you just provide a normal prompt, text prompt, what you want to receive. I want all the kids from this table together with their parents, classes, and the stuff, like in one query, and it will generate you the query. So for SQL databases, Postgres, MySQL, MariaDB, or non-SQL like MongoDB or whatever, so you can use all of them, and it will simplify your work with the database. So how I did use it before it was banned in my project, I had a local copy of the database with the fake data, and I was just asking to create me the prompts. Then I tried to convert it to SQL Alchemy, of course, and everything broke immediately. So I used my knowledge of SQL Alchemy to do it, and then I used ChatGPT, of course, to convert SQL query to SQL Alchemy. And it was bad, but like SQL works. SQL at least works. Pull and merge requests. We also all know what is it, and the biggest pain in the pull request is the review when it's big. So when you have a small pull request with one file change, one string change, it's easy. You open the review, you check it, you approve the pull request, you approve it, and it works. But I think probably everyone faced with this situation when the pull request is like hundreds of files. Or it can be small amount of files, but a huge amount of lines changed, especially when it's formatting in there. It can be just spaces added, spaces removed. And it's really hard to review it, and not only really hard for a person who creates a pull request, it's sometimes hassle to write a proper description for this. And that's where another tool comes to help, and it's called What's the Diff. There are also a similar tool GitHub is developing right now. I think there's already in the preview also. So you connect it to your project in a GitHub or whatever other Git you use. You create a pull request, then you can request to this AI just to provide you a description of the pull request. So it will write everything. You can write a fun joke about UPR if you want, or some nice story, and it will generate it based on the code base you have. So that's about description. But it's not only about description. It can also generate you changes in the pull request. For example, you are reviewing the pull request and you see something is wrong, not really like nice looking or in incorrect way, or maybe styling is different or standard is used wrong. So you can ask in the comment what's the diff to provide the proper version of this code. And using your code base and your standards, it will show how this code should be written. So that's pretty nice. It will do review for you. You just write like what the diff reviews a string, and it reviews it and provides the correct answer. But again, it uses own servers, and I can imagine it's in a GPT-4 model in the background, which processes everything, including all your code base, which is not good. And of course, ChatGPT itself. So it can do everything I just described. I always mentioned it in the background because probably all these services, or many of them, are using GPT model. But the thing is that it's not only text editor. You can think it's just a text input and text output. But if you're a software developer, for example, you can ask to provide you images, SVG images, as a code. So you create the same request as you do to Midjourney or DALL-E for image generation, but then in the end you provide, for example, you add something like, I want it to be SVG, give me the code. And it will generate something like this for you. I will show what, I made the whole video. Everything there is made by ChatGPT, and it's an interview. So interview made by ChatGPT. We will see it. And yeah. Every time you ask it, it returns you. You should validate every string of the code, almost everything. Because when I've got this SVG and I rendered it, it was like eyes were there, maybe like in the skies of the person. So I needed to ask it, move eyes back. It's somewhere far away. And it can do it. It says, yeah, I see. I used like wrong coordinates, so I will just move it. Let me show an example. Let me repeat. This is the whole interview made by ChatGPT. Text is made by ChatGPT. It's in Russian, so we will not listen to this. But the idea is I created a host just for fun, and I used Joe Rogan. I hope you know Joe Rogan as an example. So I asked ChatGPT, you act as Joe Rogan, answering questions, so in the same manner. And this is God. So it's interview with the God. God, Jesus if you want. Because it's hard to take interview from the God, and you always want to hear the answers. And ChatGPT can ask as a God. You just say, act as a God. Well, I will answer your questions, you will answer as God does. And you're like, yeah, I'm God, answer me the questions. So it provides you back the text information. So Joe Rogan, it's two windows of ChatGPT. In first window, Joe Rogan creates a question. In the second one, I provide this question, and God is answering as he is God on this question. And Joe Rogan has a really strange manner of asking, he's like coming from different sides to the question. And ChatGPT as a God can also reflect on this. So when I was doing it, I asked, answer as you're a bit angry on this question. And it kind of connect like this. Then it provided me code for everything, so switching of the plans. If first person is speaking, then first person is huge. If God is speaking, or it can be the whole plan, like white plan with two people in there. They are blinking. Of course, mouses are not open because I didn't want to spend a lot of time on this. And it's all done. I asked it to be South Park-like visual. It really didn't happen. But let's see what the result is. And also, I voice over it with synthesis audio API in the browser. It has different voices, and in some browsers, it even supports Russian. me move it here. So that's how it looks. They are blinking sometimes. Then when this guy is speaking, you should hear it. Where's my cursor? Do they? Essentially, the voices are female in most cases. So you can make it or like slower and faster to change the tone of the voice, but still it's more or less the same. Yeah, but the idea is that it can provide you logic for changing of the plans. So it gave me text. I created the whole array of answers and questions and gave the structure of this array to ChatGPT and asked, provide me canvas logic to change plans when different people are speaking, like different characters are speaking. And sometimes on every fourth question, it should be the common plan with both of them. And it gave me this code. Again, there were a couple of mistakes, especially with timing, when it should blink or whatever. Yeah, but I asked it to fix it, and it fixed it. So everything here is done with ChatGPT, everything. Microphone, which is ugly, this is a god. I don't know why it sees a god like this, but somehow it does. And this is Joe Rogan. I don't know why Joe Rogan is looking like this. Yeah, but in your development, you can use it, especially for hobby projects or if you want to play with something. But I don't suggest to use it for production. That's maybe why it's prohibited. Not only because privacy concerns, the biggest issue I had with ChatGPT is mistakes it provides. It can use a function in a library I want to be in the code, a wrong function which does not exist in this library. But ChatGPT thinks it exists. Yeah, so you should always check it. Oh. Yeah, that's it about the tools. And if you have any questions, you can ask them.